Isla Del Mara, 2019. King Ghidorah, the one who is many, is chasing after the USS Argo, the world's most advanced military aerial system. Ghidorah is closing in on the Argo, about to land a killing blow. Right as Ghidorah is about to clamp his jaws shut on the Argo, out of nowhere, leaping out of the water is Godzilla. He emerges from the water, grabbing Ghidorah and bringing him down. Ghidorah desperately flails in the water, trying to get the king off of him. Godzilla tears into Ghidorah, ripping off one of his heads and damaging his wings severely. This is it. Godzilla is going to win. Right before Godzilla has the chance to kill him, though, the US military detonates their test weapon, the Oxygen Destroyer, a bomb which, as the name entails, destroys oxygen, killing everything near it. The bomb in the universe you know is detonated near Godzilla, but in this timeline, it was just a little bit closer. When the bomb goes off, it is just a few feet away from Godzilla's face. Everyone on the Argo watches in disbelief. The water calms, but then, out of the water comes Ghidorah, unaffected by the weapon due to his extraterrestrial nature. He flies away. The people on board quickly check on Godzilla. His vitals are dropping fast. Due to the bomb's closer proximity, Godzilla is in far worse shape than he was in King of the Monsters. He's about to die. If he can't find radiation fast, it's over for him. Godzilla quickly finds a hollow Earth portal and goes through it. Monarch loses his signal. Going through the portal, he gets a little extra radiation boost, which he'll need, as he's about to get into another fight. Monarch picks his signal back up. He's now in the Arctic Ocean? Godzilla roars to make his presence known, drawing out a new competitor, Titanus Typhon. The kaiju that inhabits what is later Tiamat's lair. Typhon sees the shape Godzilla's in, and knows that if he can take him down, he will become the new king. Typhon swims at Godzilla at full speed. Godzilla quickly grabs onto him, keeping him away from his gills. Typhon is strong, or at least it seems so given Godzilla's current state. If it weren't for the portal, he'd be dead by now. Godzilla intentionally allows Typhon to attack and break his dorsals. With some of his dorsals gone, and Typhon trying to wrap his body around Godzilla, with all the radiation he has left, Godzilla does his nuclear pulse, killing Typhon. Godzilla, with Typhon DNA stuck to his body and his dorsals gone, heads into his lair. Today we're changing the direction of the Oxygen Destroyer ever so slightly. That Godzilla gets so weak that his only option to survive is to evolve. How will this affect the timeline of other kaiju? Will he be able to take down Ghidorah or Mechagodzilla? Many questions will be asked in this video, so kick back and relax as we ask, what if Godzilla evolved in King of the Monsters?
Time. Space. Reality. It's more than a linear path. It's a seismic rift of endless possibilities, where a single roar can ripple out into infinite realities, spawning alternate worlds alongside the ones you know. I am the Overlord. I am your guide through these vast, chaotic realms. Follow me and ponder this question. What if?
Hello everyone, it's your host Goji Guy, and today we're back with another What If. I didn't plan on doing another one for a while, but you all really enjoyed the Muto one, so here we are. Today we're going to see what may have played out if in King of the Monsters, Godzilla went to evolve, rather than getting boosted by a thermonuclear bomb. Will Godzilla be able to defeat Ghidorah, or will he fall? Let's dive in. Godzilla goes into the ice to evolve. With Godzilla gone for a time, Ghidorah is free to do what he wants. After Godzilla went through the portal, Ghidorah does his alpha call, awakening the kaiju. Rodan, like in the universe you know, is the first to bow. Ghidorah gets Rodan, they head off to DC, pretty much doing what they did in King of the Monsters. Mothra awakens, sensing Godzilla's evolution, and heads to the Arctic. Godzilla awakens, having taken in every last bit of radiation within the cave. The ice breaks as Godzilla starts to break free. Coming out of the ice, Godzilla has evolved, taking in Typhon's DNA. Doing what we do best, we of course have what Godzilla might possibly look like in this new form. But we are going to do it as a more realistic Monsterverse style, rather than the Goji Guy style, aka just being over the top. Godzilla's dorsals have become slightly elongated, with a darker reddish hue. His eyes now radiate a cyan radiation, and at the very end of his tail he has small spikes. Thanks to the DNA from Typhon, he now also has accelerated regeneration, and his radiation storage has been boosted by around 10 times, rather than the 20 times you know from the main universe. Godzilla breaks out of the ice, greeted by Mothra. She's caught off guard by his appearance, but they move onward. The water boils around Godzilla, being almost entirely filled with radiation due to the cave being in the way of solar winds, making it the most radioactive place on the planet. Monarch followed Mothra, and now seeing this new evolved Godzilla for the first time. His readings are off the charts. That's when suddenly Godzilla and Mothra start rushing at full speed away from the Argo. Where are they headed? Monarch calculates the direction they're headed, and as it's calculating, they receive a call from another outpost.
This is the USS Argo. What's this call for? Monster Zero and Rodan, they stopped attacking. What? Why? I don't know, sir. They just started heading south. Hold on a second.
The readings come through. Godzilla and Mothra are beelining to Boston.
Is Monster Zero and Rodan headed towards Boston? I suppose that could be a possibility, sir. Shit.
Monarch alerts Marty Walsh, the serving mayor at the time, telling him of the situation. Walsh immediately gives a command to clear the city. Within minutes, the city is in chaos. Monarch, along with the US military, evacuates thousands at a time. Helicopters, trucks, buses, and carrier planes arriving and leaving. After G-Day, the government has been ready for something like this to happen again. Within an hour, the city is clear and vacant. Except for one person. Madison Russell. Madison, using Fenway Park's massive speakers, uses the Orca to lure the Titans in. The city is quiet besides the stadium. Then it starts. It starts drizzling, then rain, then a full-on downpour. The skies darken, and the wind starts to shake the city. Ghidorah is here. Ghidorah lands just outside the stadium. All three of his heads are snarling. Madison tries to turn off the Orca but fails. She runs, trying to get away from Ghidorah, but he's too big. Right as he's about to fire his beam at Madison, he gets flashbangs sent tumbling back. Mothra makes it to Boston, and using her god rays, she sends Ghidorah reeling back. As Ghidorah stands back up, he's then blasted with a force he's never felt. A dark red beam slams against his chest, sending him across the city. His chest is scorched beyond recognition. Looking up, there he is, cyan eyes and dark red dorsals glowing. Godzilla. Ghidorah, for once, is intimidated. They roar at each other and rush in, Godzilla running faster than ever before. Ghidorah almost instantly realizes he's going to lose this clash. But before he can stop and weave out of the way, Godzilla sidechecks him, pushing Ghidorah back to the ground. Ghidorah tries to crawl, but Godzilla slams his foot onto his tail. Godzilla then grabs Ghidorah's tail and tosses him across the city. Mothra uses her silk to then keep him down, while Godzilla charges over. Before Ghidorah can get up, Godzilla slams his foot onto Ghidorah's chest, breaking his ribs. He charges his beam, and right as he's about to fire it, Rodan, the fire demon, flies in, faster than he's ever gone. Rodan curls his body up and spins in the air, slamming his back into Godzilla with incredible force. The shockwave of the attack sends Godzilla and Mothra far away. Ghidorah gets up, burnt and broken. He quickly finds a power plant and takes in its energy. He puts all the newfound electricity towards regenerating himself, rather than attacking. Within seconds, he uses up all of its power. His bones are back to normal and his skin is healed. Ghidorah tells Rodan to deal with Mothra while he takes on Godzilla. Rodan charges Mothra while Godzilla takes on Ghidorah. While caught off guard at first, Ghidorah understands it now. Ghidorah has now adapted and can predict Godzilla's speed and attacks. The two earth-shattering titans trade blows. Ghidorah strategically blasting Godzilla's head with his beam, while using his tail to swipe Godzilla's feet, knocking Godzilla to the ground. Godzilla strikes back with a crimson beam, blasting through the wing of Ghidorah. Godzilla grabs at the hole in Ghidorah's wing and tears it wider. Ghidorah roars in pain. Ghidorah fires a blast right into Godzilla's gills. Godzilla shrieks in pain like never before. But thanks to Typhon's DNA, he quickly starts to regenerate it. Mothra and Rodan slam into the ground, right beside Godzilla and Ghidorah. Godzilla needs to end this quickly, but the only way he can do so is with a pulse. Godzilla looks over at Mothra on the ground, knowing she'll be caught in the crossfire. Mothra, seemingly hearing Godzilla's thoughts, looks up at him, nodding her head, letting Godzilla know that whatever he has to do, she's fine with. With Rodan, Mothra, and Ghidorah all within range, Godzilla taps into his stored energy, glowing red. Ghidorah tries to take flight, but due to the damage dealt to his wing, it makes it impossible for him to get airborne. Godzilla's skin cracks, showing a deep, dark red glow. Godzilla roars before finally pulsing. His crimson pulse clears everything near him. Mothra is turned into a shadow, Rodan is vaporized, and Ghidorah is blown away into smoke. The dust settles. Godzilla collapses to the ground, exhausted. The other titans arrive, seeing him out of breath. Godzilla gains his composure and stands up. He gives his own alpha call, telling the titans to go back to their homes and go back to sleep. And while this is a really cool what if, one thing you shouldn't have to ponder about in the future is being ripped off when buying your kaiju figures. But worry no more, as today's video is brought to you by Beast of the East Collectibles. Beast has sponsored many videos in the past. And you guys know me well. I can't turn down getting a toy, and at the same time promoting one of the best figure sellers out there. So today we're here to show off their SH Figure Arts Ultraman Arc. And of course, like any figure arts, its box is amazingly detailed, and of course comes in great condition, showing enough Beast to care with their shipping. But like, no, really. To those who watch my live streams, when I got this figure in the mail, it took me around 4 minutes just to get the bubble wrap off. Beast is very serious with getting your kaiju goods to your door unharmed. Inside the box, you of course have Ultraman Arc, who is amazingly detailed, sculpted, and painted. He of course, like any Ultra, has a whole bunch of articulation, and looks great with any other Ultraman or Godzilla figures. He has some extra hands, a separate color timer, and his sword. that allows him to save himself in battle. But speaking of saving, here's the best part. Not only does Beast offer some of, if not the best prices out there for kaiju figures, but you can save an additional 5% on anything you order when using code GOJIGUY5 at checkout. So if you want kaiju figures ranging from Ultraman, Godzilla, and Gamera, and much more, make sure to check out the first link down below. Thank you, Beast, for watching this video, and let's move on. After the boss in battle, Godzilla goes to sleep in his lair. Humans not wanting to mess with kaiju right now are staying clear of all the oceans. Godzilla goes to sleep. Now, one issue with how the events played out is that he never got Mothra's amp, where he's able to sense what other kaiju are up to. Due to that, many things will change, starting with Behemoth. It's a sunny afternoon in Rio. People are on the beaches partying, and many are in the shops buying their groceries. Little do they know, out in the wilderness of Brazil, Behemoth is fighting for his life, facing off against Amulek, the swamp titan. Amulek lands blow after blow, and thanks to the fact that he can't feel pain unless it's hitting his head, all of Behemoth's attacks go unnoticed. Amulek pretty easily overpowers Behemoth and drags him into the water, drowning the titan. Scylla is off, taking in countless nukes, growing more and more powerful by the day. That's when Godzilla hears it. He wakes up and notices the water outside of his cave is chaotic and glowing. Godzilla just barely steps into the water when a massive cloud of hot steam sends him tumbling back. Godzilla, now mad, dives into the water, and he was not expecting to see the sight in front of him. Due to his high levels of radiation, 3 different titans were drawn near to challenge him. In front of him, Tiamat, Nakika, and the Murderfish Janitor are in battle. Tiamat using her electrogenic cells and acid breath to damage Nakika. Nakika swinging her tentacles to push Tiamat and the Murderfish away. The Murderfish Janitor trying to bite at Tiamat, while her swarm goes for Nakika. Godzilla is enraged, seeing the damage they have caused to his home, and more importantly, seeing the damage they've caused to a long-lost friend. Godzilla rushes in, grabbing the Murderfish. Godzilla rips the Murderfish's lower jaw off, killing it instantly. He grabs Tiamat and slams her to the ocean floor, using the lower jaw to stab all the way through her body, pinning her to the ground. Given Godzilla's ability to control his density, he lowers it as much as he can, sending himself shooting up in the water. In doing so, his dorsal skewer Nakika. He then increases his density, ejecting himself out of Nakika's body. Nakika quickly bleeds out, turning the surrounding water a dark red. Tiamat rips off part of her body trying to get away, but she can't navigate the red waters. It's quiet. She tries to pick up on things around her, but due to the thick blood, it stops her from doing so. She then sees the cyan eyes through the fog of blood. But before she can even react, using the red to hide his radiation, Godzilla fires his crimson beam right into Tiamat's face, killing her on sight. Godzilla takes in the surrounding radiation and goes back to sleep. Howdy everybody, here's your intermission, so go grab a drink or snack or whatever, as we need to address an important thing for the story. In this story, we'll be assuming that Kingdom Kong plays out pretty much the exact same way it did in the main universe. So, Kamazosh takes in Ghidorah Storm, Kong and Kamazosh fight, blah 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 blah. So, once this intermission is over, we'll be jumping straight into the events of GBK. And before we start back up, let me quickly show off gifts from Goji, a fundraiser I started. I'll keep it quick for you. We, the kaiju community, are trying to raise $54,000 for St. Jude's Children's Hospital, so give it a look if you can, and please consider donating. Alright, and let's dive back in. Monarch plans on taking Kong off of Skull Island, as it's too far gone. The storm has consumed the island, and is flooding the island more and more by the day. Monarch devises a plan to get Kong from Skull Island into the Hollow Earth. They knock him out with some sleep juice, and load the ape onto a boat to take him away. While this is happening, Godzilla wakes up. While his senses aren't nearly as strong as they used to be, they're still strong enough to sense something. Waking him from his sleep, he can feel that many kaiju are gone. Behemoth, Binyub, Baphomet, and many more are no longer alive. And to add on to all of this, he feels a powerful presence, coming from Cape Town, South Africa. Filled with rage, knowing something is happening, Godzilla pumps himself up and heads out. Kong has successfully arrived to Antarctica. Kong, after some convincing, heads into the Hollow Earth to live peacefully for the rest of his life. No, really, that's it. What do you think, he's gonna heroically come back in the final act? Pfft, get out! Godzilla arrives. The city, or what is left, is engulfed in flames. Godzilla looks around trying to find the culprit, and he finds one. What was once a relatively lightweight kaiju has now bulked up to a scary degree, and is glowing orange, almost in a thermonuclear state. Scylla, the crab-like titan, is to blame. Godzilla not having been able to sense her until now. While he was off sleeping, Scylla has been scouring the Earth for radiation, taking in countless nuclear bombs and nuclear reactors, such as the one that she just consumed. She is now more than tripled in weight, and now stands at around 130 meters tall. Her shell is thickened and become more resistant to attacks, and her toxic mist has become potent enough to kill kaiju with ease. Godzilla huffs, steam coming out of his nose, and dorsal's glowing red, ready for battle. They charge into each other. Scylla wins the initial clash, pushing Godzilla onto his back. Godzilla shoots its beam onto Scylla's belly, pushing her up into the air. Godzilla tries to get back up, but he can't move. He looks over at his hand that has now been submerged in webbing. Scylla comes back and stabs 5 of her legs into the ground, however one of them stabs deep into Godzilla's side. Scylla then releases her toxic mist. Godzilla desperately tries to use both his gills and nose to breathe, but to no avail. That's when Godzilla gets an idea, charging up all of his radiation but keeping it in his dorsals. This will either blow his back open or look super cool. But Goji didn't have time to weigh the pros and cons, and he blasts it out. Within a fraction of a second, Godzilla goes from 0 to over 500 miles an hour, blasting out enough radiation to destroy an entire country if not well managed by Goji. Godzilla and Scylla are now high in the sky, blasting through the smoke cloud in the air. Both are disoriented. Both all the air rushing by, Godzilla can once again breathe.
I was bored by the shit, made a billion.
Godzilla can once again breathe. Godzilla quickly blasts out his atomic breath to push himself towards Scylla. Godzilla grabs Scylla as they fall towards the ground. He knows his beam can't get through her shell, but gravity can. Scylla tries to spin around Godzilla, but she has no way to propel herself in the air. Godzilla releases another pulse to blast them even faster into the ground. Scylla roars for mercy, but it's too late. They crash into the ground, sending a shockwave that puts a deep crack into the continent itself. Scylla has been eliminated, being reduced to a splat. Godzilla wobbly stands up and roars. And then he realizes the issue. Now that Scylla's gone, he feels another power. One close to Scylla's power, but something's off. It's a new power that he hadn't sensed before, and it's coming from Hong Kong. Godzilla quickly regenerates and heads off to Hong Kong. Godzilla makes landfall, flooding the coast. He's infuriated. Whoever's here must be the one that killed so many of his fellow Titans. Though he realizes the radiation levels are coming from Hong Kong itself, spread about the city. But before he has a chance to check it out, he hears a roar challenging him to battle. Breaking out of the mountain is Mechagodzilla, glowing blue, ready for battle. Walter Simmons is at the wheel. Godzilla charges at Mechagodzilla, Mechagodzilla doing the same. They clash into each other, Godzilla scratching at the mech, though his claws do little damage to Mechagodzilla's armor. Mechagodzilla boosts his feet, launching himself into the air, slamming one of his knees into Godzilla's lower jaw. Godzilla is stunned and fumbles back. Unlike the sporadic Ghidorah, who is in control in GVK, Walter has been practicing for this battle, having gone through hundreds, if not thousands of battle simulations. Godzilla has to develop an entire new fighting style or new ability if he wants to win this fight. Godzilla quickly thinks and comes up with a plan. He noticed that within the mountain there is tech that looks similar to Mechagodzilla. If he can destroy the mountain, he might be able to short-circuit Mechagodzilla enough to supercharge his beam. Godzilla pulses at Mecha, slamming into his chest, pushing Mechagodzilla back. Mechagodzilla shoots a barrage of missiles and loudspeakers to disorient Godzilla. Godzilla doesn't take any damage, but is slowing down, his senses being overwhelmed by this fight. But he pushes through. Godzilla blasts his atomic breath into the ground, turning all the water that flooded the city into a massive steam cloud. Due to the hot steam, Mecha's thermal vision isn't working. That's when, BAM! Godzilla does his dorsal pulse and sends Mechagodzilla flying back. With the Mecha down, Godzilla quickly runs to the mountain. He breaks through it with ease, destroying the mountain and killing Walter Simmons. Mechagodzilla turns off. Godzilla charges up his beam and fires. It starts to heat up Mechagodzilla, but the heat activates Mechagodzilla's cooling system, spewing out dry powder, the same as in fire extinguishers. That's when he hears it. Mechagodzilla does a taunting roar. Mechagodzilla charges out. While Godzilla destroyed a large amount of the facility, enough of Ghidorah's skeleton was intact, and takes over Mechagodzilla's body. Mechagodzilla starts to absolutely destroy Godzilla. Godzilla is desperate. That is when he thinks of something that will use up almost all of his radiation. Godzilla kicks Mechagodzilla off of him, and quickly charges all of the radiation he has into a single beam, and blasts it at the ground where Mechagodzilla stands. Before Mechagodzilla can move out of the way, the ground opens. Godzilla has forcefully opened a hollow earth portal. Mecha falls, and Godzilla stops the beam as Mechagodzilla is falling into it. Mechagodzilla gets gojoed and gets cut in half by the portal closing. Mechagodzilla is down. Godzilla falls, catching his breath. Luckily, he still has some radiation left, but if he were to have kept going, he would have completely ran out. How lucky for Godzilla. I'm sure that's not lazy writing on my end. Pfft, of course not. Not like he's about to fight someone who's actually the secret villain this entire time, right? No, of course not. But then, the ground shakes around him. That is when Godzilla is presented with a sight that will forever horrify him. Out of the ground, around the entire city, dead kaiju carcasses rise into the air. Behemoth, Nakika, Tiamat, the Murderfish, Muta Prime, and many, many more. That's when he sees him, the kaiju who brought him here, Amulok. Amulok smiles as his once tree and mud-filled body is replaced with the bones of all the Titans. Not only that, but Amulok absorbed the radiation from said kaiju. How could this be, Godzilla thinks? Well, while Godzilla was asleep or fighting other kaiju, Amulok went killing other Titans, collecting the bodies of both his and Godzilla's victims. But he didn't take in the radiation then. Oh, no. That would give away his plan. So instead, he burrowed them all to Hong Kong, bringing their bodies here. Knowing about Mechagodzilla's construction, he lured Godzilla here, making him think Mecha was the one doing all this. Amulok was hoping Mecha was strong, and was not disappointed. Mechagodzilla forced Godzilla to use a large amount of his radiation to battle him, and now Amulok can easily kill Godzilla. Amulok is now a massive abomination of bones and fallen titans, standing well over 260 meters in height, and to top it off, his face. Just to mock Godzilla. Using it as a helmet to protect the only physical part of his body, Amulok uses Dagon's skull. Dagon being the last member of the Godzilla species besides Godzilla himself. Godzilla knows this is an uphill battle. Well, it literally is. Amulek is on top of a hill. Godzilla pushes his emotions aside and locks the in. Godzilla roars and charges. Amulek, using his telekinesis, launches his bony tentacles towards Godzilla. Godzilla, with the radiation left, masters his pulses, pushing himself around, dodging Amulek's attacks. Amulek, seeing his tentacles aren't working, slams them all together into Godzilla. Godzilla is getting crushed by the bones of his own friends. Godzilla cranks his radiation as much as he can, raising the temperature inside the bone dome. The bones start to melt, just enough for him to break out. With his built-up radiation, Godzilla shoots a beam right at Amulek's face. Amulek shuts the jaw of Dagon to take in the beam. And with how the Gojira specimens work, Dagon absorbs a good amount of the radiation, further buffing Amulek. Godzilla's face is filled with dread, knowing he can't win this battle. Amulek laughs and is about to send a massive tentacle at Godzilla to shish kebab him. That's when Godzilla looks up, having expected a punch, but he is met with a sight that shocked him to his core. With Tiamat dead, a certain kaiju is never killed off by her, standing in front of Godzilla, the only kaiju that he's ever lost to, a being that he hasn't seen in millions of years. In front of Godzilla stands the rival, an ancient Kong. Godzilla is embarrassed and pissed off that he needs help from this guy of all titans. But there's no time. Godzilla pushes his ego aside and stands up, ready to fight. The rival is now much older, so he can't quite use tools like Kong, but he still has the fighting skills he had all those years ago. Wrapped around the rival's hands is seemingly boxing tape made of Godzilla's skin, and what seems to be glitter? That's when Amulek stands back up, but something's off. Some of his bones are falling off. Only a few, but still, his body is becoming undone. Godzilla looks back at the rival and now knows what the glitter is. It is the crushed antlers of countless spirit tigers. The spirit tiger having the ability to inflict hallucinogenic effects on its targets. And with Amulek's ability of telekinesis being altered by the spirit tiger's dust, he is losing his ability to keep himself together. The rival and Godzilla know what to do. Godzilla rushes in, holding Amulek down. He pushes past Amulek's bones and starts attacking. Amulek tries to pull him off, but his tentacles are failing him. With Amulek distracted, the rival runs past, landing an uppercut and a side punch in Amulek's face, causing more of his body to fall apart. Amulek is starting to trip out. Godzilla is easily tearing through Amulek's body now, only needing to pull slightly to pull the bones out. And with this, Godzilla is starting to absorb the radiation of his fallen allies. The rival again lands a punch, and with that punch, Amulek is now fully, well, high, more or less. His body crumbles. Godzilla, now with the radiation of countless kaiju flowing through him, overcharges himself. Radiation blasting out of him, so much so that the rival is pushed back and can't even get close. Godzilla charges his beam, his dorsal's melting, revealing the bone underneath. With one last battle cry, Godzilla shoots his beam into Amulek's head, atomizing him instantly, and literally cutting through the planet in the blink of an eye. Amulek is dead. The ground shakes as the two pieces of Earth pull themselves back together. After the shaking is over, Godzilla looks over at the rival, glowing white with radiation. Godzilla is infuriated that out of all the kaiju that come help him, it was him. Godzilla roars at the rival roaring back with a smirk. Knowing what's about to happen, Godzilla charges at the rival, ready to kill him and settle the score. But before he can, the rival collapses, having finally died due to his age and pushing himself in this battle. Godzilla stops to look at his body. After all this, the rival has the audacity to die of old age, making him the only kaiju to ever beat Godzilla. Godzilla not having the chance to tie that score. Godzilla smirks and makes his way back into the ocean. What happens after this is up to you to decide. And that's where, at least for now, this story comes to an end. Thank you all so much for watching, and thank you to everybody that helped out. I cannot name everybody off the top of my head just due to how many there were, but there will be countless people credited down below in the description. I really hope you all enjoyed this video, and what did you think about the story? What are your thoughts on Amulek being the final villain, or the rival coming in to help Godzilla? Let me know down in the comments. And don't go just yet, there is an end credit scene, but before that plays, again, if you can, try and donate to the fundraiser. And also, YouTube added a feature recently where I can see my most supportive fans, so massive shout out to Mr. Space G Zillaman and TyrannoZilla Rex. Both those guys have commented over 100 times in different videos, so thank you to you two. And hey, who knows, maybe in the next video, you'll be one of those #1 fans. But as always, keep collecting. Goji Guy, out. See ya.